The beginning of every year, many people across the world set out their goals for the year. This practice is often referred to as New Year's resolutions. The new year traditionally represents a fresh start where people set new intentions and habits. As we enter day 5 of the year 2024, let's discuss how one can set up these resolutions and commit to them. Of course, that's the hard part. We're joined by life coach Mpho Mogotsi, who's going to be talking to us about this. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming to speak to us in studio.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Thanks, Mpho.
It's an exciting start.
Yeah.
You know, so many goals. I mean, people would put down goals like, I want to lose weight, yet continue to eat some of the food from December and Christmas Day. But it's a difficult and daunting task. How important is it to have New Year's resolutions?
It's very important for all of us. I think it naturally happens to a lot of us, where it's almost like a reset. Every New Year's, we set these goals, right? So you get two groups of people. The group that will actually just daydream about these things and say, in 2024, I'd like to actually achieve A, B, C, and D. But they don't write them down. They're not committed to making them happen. I always say that, you know, in order for you to manifest something, you have to be intentional about it. Then you have the second group of people, wherein they say, okay, I'm very intentional about what I want to achieve in 2024, for example. Therefore, I know that there's certain things that I need to put into practice. Things like perhaps maybe writing them down, committing in terms of saying, how do I now break down this goal? You mentioned earlier to say, I want to lose weight. It can be a daydreaming effect if you're not going to gym, if you're not taking any action to actually make that happen for yourself. Somebody who is serious about this will say, okay, in 2024, be very specific and say, how much do I want to lose? Because just saying, I want to lose weight is not good enough. It doesn't give you a commitment point. Because even if you lose 1, that's okay, right? But does it take you to where you want to go? No. But when you set it in such a way that you say, I want to lose 10 kilograms by a certain date, now we're talking. Now that is a goal. And then from there, we work it backwards in terms of saying now, if I want to lose this in 6 months, what do I do on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, on a daily basis that will take me to a point where I start to lose this weight and actually achieve it? So those kind of people are more likely to get to the end of the year and actually tick off some of the things that they will achieve in terms of those goal setting. Now, if you are just haphazard and you're just going with the flow and saying, you know what, I want to go to Paris, but you have no intention in terms of saving, in terms of making sure that, you know what, I've pinned down a date and time to go to Paris and all these things, it becomes a daydreaming effect. Let's talk about something that's really, really important right now. School are opening very soon. A lot of the parents are in a situation where, you know, they either have the money to buy those textbooks to make sure that, you know what, when that school opens on the 17th, many of them are opening on the 17th of January, their children are in a position where they are, you know, fit for school, readiness of school.
Yes, school shoes, uniform, everything
ticked, right? But then there also are parents that are now actually sitting and actually, oh my word, where do I borrow the money? Where do I get this? Where do I get that? And I always say to my clients, I say, you always need to plan ahead. I have a thing that I call to say, go ahead of it. We know every year in January, there's school fees to be paid. Now, if you're not planning from January this year for next year's January, you are going to fail haphazardly, unfortunately.
But all of this, I mean, you mentioned some keywords here. You talk about commitment. Commitment takes a certain level of discipline and following through the steps of your commitment obligation. What about procrastination? I mean, that in itself is the enemy.
Procrastination happens to many of us. It's a life element that once you are aware of it, you can now start to do something about it. For that specifically, I always say to my clients, have an accountability partner. It can be a coach in a form of Mpho Mogotsi like myself. It can be your buddy, but it has to be somebody who's definitely going to hold you accountable. Not somebody who's going to just let you slide because, oh my word, I just felt like having ice cream. Yet you know that you want to be actually losing weight, a kilogram, for example, in this month. So you need to be very strict. So you need to choose your accountability partners very carefully. It has to be someone who's got your best heart, or rather, your best intentions at heart. So I want to see you win. I want to see you progress. I want to get to a point where in your life, sometime in 6 months or in a year's time, we are able to celebrate your wins. So that is that person that you can actually say, that's my accountability partner. Not somebody you can just tell a story to and then they believe it. Someone who's going to say, okay, you've fallen off the wagon. What are we going to do to get up again? So that, for me specifically, I also have coaches. So on a monthly basis, I sit down with my coaches. I have a financial coach, I have a spiritual coach, so I sit down and I'm like, okay, so here I am, and this is where I want to go. And they hold me accountable. And similarly, that's exactly what I also do for my clients. Hold you accountable to say, if you want to start saving for a specific goal, where do we start? For example, many of us are in a position where we're actually living beyond our means. So now, how can you start thinking about that Paris trip when you can't even meet your, necessary requirements at the end of the month? So I always say, let's start firstly at A, which is, let's help you to get to a point where you are meeting your requirements. It's a far-fetched idea, and okay to have, dreams in terms of, these are my short-term goals, these are my medium-term goals, and these are my long-term goals. So perhaps a trip to Paris would be in the long-term goal. But immediately we need to focus on the immediate, or rather short-term goals. How do we now make you to become that person who's able to say, I'm no longer living out of my means. I'm in a position where I'm even saving as little as 50 rands a month.
That's incredible. Of course, in setting goals, one needs to use tools. I mean, you speak about components like life coaches and accountability partners, but there are tools that can help you in achieving these goals, whether it's a platform on your phone or an app. But the power of vision boards, seeing it before it happens.
Absolutely. I think I've seen quite a number of vision board parties or, events going around. And I'll be hosting one on the 3rd of February as well. It's important because once you start to see it, your mind starts to work and say, how do I actually achieve this? You're right, there's lots of apps. I personally don't use any apps because I truly believe that my mind is my biggest and most powerful tool in order for me to achieve anything that I want to achieve. So once I start to see my vision board up there, every morning I spend some time, 10-15 minutes, tuning in terms of where I want to go, the things that I want to achieve. So I would start off by meditating. Meditation really just puts you in a mindset that says, I'm receptive of the universe and the power that God has on me specifically. So, just to actually put it out there. So you don't necessarily have to sit in a meditative position, but just to be aware, bring your attention to the now moment. Because people don't realize your power is in the now moment. It's not in the past. It's not in the future. When you are right here, right now, you can make decisions and take actions that will actually encourage you to move in the direction where you want to go. So by just meditating, and once you are in a position where you say, I've cleared my mind, now look at your board and say, what do I need to do today to make certain of these goals achievable?
What about the power of affirmations?
They are incredible as well. Those I do when I'm actually brushing my teeth in the morning as well as at night, because a lot of us have those routines, right? So in order for you, you're always sitting and staring at the mirror anyway when you're brushing your teeth or whatever you're doing. How about you use that time as well to use 5 affirmations to help you achieve your goals? Because I use things like, I am beautiful, I'm intelligent, I am who God says I am. Because that's important. Those 3 for me are very important. Because I don't want to have outside affirmations. I don't want anyone else to affirm me. I want to affirm myself. And by so doing, I'm sending a very powerful instruction to my subconscious mind to say, who am I? What do I want to achieve in my life? You know, so it's important, depending on what is going on in my life, they change accordingly. Right? If I am in need of peace, I mean, now recently, when I say recently, about 4 months ago, I lost my dad. So my affirmation was that I am healed, I'm at peace. Because that's exactly what I needed at that point. So change them according to how and what the circumstances are within your space. So it's very important to affirm yourself. Absolutely. Outside validation is great, but when you can actually affirm yourself and validate yourself, that's power right there.
Yeah, absolutely powerful. Thank you so much for joining us and speaking to us. Life coach Mpho Mogotsi, they're giving us some skills as we navigate the year 2024.